Welcome to episode 15 of the Boxed In podcast. It is May 7th and we are back at the Jackrabbits boxing gym with Ivan Sylve. How you doing, man?
Great.
I'm Garrity McCosker.
And I'm Trevor Sombrano.
And actually I wanted to talk a little bit about the fight that just happened this weekend. Get you guys' opinions on it. We just came off of the Canelo show and the basically what else did you see other than just a Canelo slick footwork, slick. I know you had some opinions you were sharing with me earlier.
I don't think that anyone should have expected the Canelo-Jacobs fight to go any differently than what we saw. I think a lot of people might have thought because of the physical size and stature of Danny Jacobs that he would have brought in and taken the fight to Canelo.
More pressure, yeah.
Yeah, that there would have been more pressure. But at the end of the day, kind of what I've been saying all along, which is, craft and skills pay the bills, and Canelo being dedicated to his process, and for the most part, looking better in each fight.
Yeah.
I think it's something to say that I'd like to kind of get out there right now is that I think we should probably say this is one of the slickest fighters in boxing right now that I can think of. If we're just measuring somebody on their ability not to get hit, and in fact, Canelo, he might be one of the slickest Mexican fighters that I've ever seen of all time.
Yeah, I think he's going to go down as one of the slickest Mexican fighters, if not the.
And we're seeing that progress over and over again, as you said, like each fight, and it's been kind of fun to watch because in those early fights with like first ones that came to the U.S. like against Hatton's brother.
Yeah,
I don't remember being a slick fighter, but
no.
He's certainly taken that.
He was trying. I remember that fight against. He was trying to use the shoulder roll and things like that, but he definitely evolved.
Yeah.
Especially after the Mayweather fight.
Yeah,
I
think the one thing to sort of reiterate and get out there and really punctuate to all the viewers and anybody listening is that when he walked away from the Mayweather fight, that in fact he walked away with not just a loss, but a lesson. And that lesson was that he had to go about his craft with a total different discipline and a total different consciousness in order for him to be the fighter that he is today. The one thing that I think that we can all take away and safely say right now is Canelo's, he's a fighter out there, but he's very smart, he's very cerebral. He's not going to take punishment just to take punishment. He's not going to take a shot just to take a shot. He in fact is, he's very defensively responsible, and he's out there and he's making the right, decisions, and he has a great idea of what he wants to get done, as we saw in the Danny Jacobs fight.
Is there anything about Daniel Jacobs' performance that you're kind of disappointed in? I mean, other than just the general sentiment that we thought maybe he would need to take a little bit more of a gamble if he was gonna win this fight.
Well, I mean, I'm not disappointed. He's the Danny Jacobs that I thought he was going to be. The fight went exactly the way I thought he was going to be. Right. I just hope that he pushed the gas a little bit harder. I thought that in the Triple G fight, he actually tried to get in there a little bit more with Triple G, and that caused the droppage. But I'm not disappointed. That's the Daniel Jacobs that I thought it was going to come.
To revisit the Triple G fight, I had Danny Jacobs that being a draw. I didn't really think that Triple G did enough to win that fight. And had Danny Jacobs not been dropped in the fight, I would have definitely given Danny Jacobs the fight. There's kind of a big difference that I think I want to speak on as far as that specific fight was that he did have Virgil Hunter in his corner, Andre Ward's lifelong trainer, and he was working with Andre Rosier, which is the owner of Havoc, and then perhaps with Virgil there, someone that they had gone to, who a lot of people go to when they have these big marquee fights. We know Amir Khan just went to him, or Amir Khan is with him, but we know a lot of people are, Amir Khan was, Berto was with him and so forth, that they went with them with the intent because they know that they're up against opposition where they're going to need to develop a fighter even more so. With this fight, I don't know why, we know that this is the biggest fight of his career. We know that he's certainly sacrificed with the weigh-in penalty, which was to kind of let the viewers know, which was that a weight clause saying that you can only come in 10 pounds over the weight
on the following day, on the morning day, because they do the weigh-ins the day before, and then it was they only wanted him rehydration to 170.
And so we don't really know what he came in at, but I think the speculation is that he did come over 175. but more importantly, that he was willing to pay, which I've heard is being reported,
$900,000.
$900,000. So if you're going to pay $900,000 and not make weight, I just don't know why.
Why you're not taking gambles to win the fight?
No, not even taking gambles to win a fight. I don't know what decisions are getting made, and you're deciding that you're going to bring in people to help you get to execute your plan and to win the biggest fight of your career. Why you wouldn't have brought Virgil back in? And it's nothing against his team. I mean, it's all at the end of the day. Danny Jacobs got to where he is because of the team that surrounded him and his process along the way. But, Danny Jacobs, perhaps there could have been a way for him to deal with Canelo's boxing a little bit more. There could have been a better acumen on display. And it's really hard for me to just, at the end of the day, to say, hey, just because a guy turned southpaw, that this is some sort of display of pugilism and the sweet science. With the exception of the one left that he had countered Canelo with, for Canelo, in my opinion, being lazy and sort of losing focus and just getting caught in that split second with some dumb shit. Besides the fact that Canelo ate the punch and acted like it had no effect over him at all. Yeah, but this is the biggest fight of your career, and we're expecting Danny Jacobs to fight like it's the biggest fight of his career. There's no doubt, had Danny Jacobs won this fight, that his life would have changed.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was still pretty good money, but it was shocking to see to voluntarily give up the almost $1 million for not going for the weigh-in class.
I heard
that was pretty wild.
Eddie Hearn paid that.
Oh, okay.
So I guess it was nothing out of his pocket.
So take it off.
Well, even with you're doing, you're obviously they're doing business together, which is a great thing for business overall. Knowing that Hearn is and obviously knowing that Oscar De La Hoya too is in the peripheral and still very active in decisions that are getting made. At the end of the day, whenever these fights happen, these big fights, which seem to be happening more and more often, there's an expectation for the B side, who no doubt is Danny Jacobs, that they're going to do anything in their power to become the A side. And so when we're, as boxing fans or as people that are all been involved in boxing today or in our past, we know that we have a fighter in that position, or you yourself, if you're a fighter in that position, that you're not going to let these moments slip between your fingers and not capitalize on them. Because the truth is that Danny Jacobs is never going to see that opportunity and that sort of money ever again.
Yeah.
There's nobody else for him to fight, for him to get that look. And there's no other part of his career that I could see on the horizon where he's ever going to be able to make this up. And then, in fact, he did fail. So, he's going to have to take a look. He's going to have to take a look at a couple of people. One, he should start with himself, and that's just being honest. And number two, he's got to look at his team and figure out whether or not someone wasn't speaking real to him, and whether or not he wasn't in a small echo chamber that was, reinforcing whatever it is that happened that night.
Yeah, I mean, I keep on thinking he was fighting too conservatively.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, is that, I don't know, is that like, is it the fighter's fault, or is that the corner's fault? I mean,
Ivan and I both as coaches, I think we.
Maybe he's not trying to get clipped, but because he has a kid that he loves. I don't know.
As trainers, I think we can collectively agree that when we see a slick fighter, the first thing that we probably, advice that I think we both get on board with is that, why don't you go and really pressure him and take the fight to him? Because then we got to see how slick he is. We got to see if he has a control. We got to see whether or not he can bail himself out of hot situations. We got to see whether or not does the guy sell out and start becoming stiff, and does he let that tension get into his body? Or is a guy a real assassin in there, and does he start displaying the temperament that we saw Floyd Mayweather versus the Maidana fights? But you're not going to know. And the one thing that I think we could take away from this fight is, in fact, Danny Jacobs never put Canelo in that position for us to know if Canelo would have buckled under real pressure. So, at the end of the day this week, when Danny Jacobs is thinking about it, maybe Danny Jacobs listens to this podcast, and I could hope that he should, because it comes from a good place, it comes from the heart, is also to say, hey, when these decisions are being made, the people around you are giving you advice and so forth, for you to look at it without a bias that's coming from yourself and to see it for what it really is. I know that there's a lot of people out there saying that Danny Jacobs had won the fight.
I don't know who said that. I don't know. I didn't see that.
One man, Marquez.
Marquez said he had it 115, 113.
Yeah.
Demetrius Andre.
I saw it. Yeah,
said
actually,
he thought Danny Jacobs did enough to win.
Yeah, when someone like
I saw that on like a little meme infographic, but I honestly thought it was fake.
No.
With that Marcus said that.
That's what speaking on Demetrius Andrade.
Yeah, that should be the next fight.
Listen,
that needs to happen.
If Andrade thinks that Danny Jacobs won this fight,
he's hoping to fight Danny Jacobs.
No, he's going to.
He's going to do just about what Danny Jacobs done. It's going to be a fail.
He's going to fall short. And so, as a fighter, Demetrius Andrade, this is sort of telling on what I wouldn't want to hear from him. Demetrius Andrade is seeing this fight, and he thinks that Danny Jacobs really won that fight against Canelo. Well, what does that say about your intent when you face Canelo?
Well,
Because that certainly is a lot of gray area. And for the most part, the people that saw this fight, in my opinion, from what I've heard, which were people that have no bias towards the sport, that just like the science of it, was in fact that Canelo did win this fight. But if Andrade thinks that Danny Jacobs clearly won this fight, well, brother, how are you going to go about beating Canelo?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because that's not what you want to hear. What I ideally would hear is that, no, Canelo absolutely won the fight. Had it been me, I would have done X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So
no. But when I was saying that he had hoped to, he may be in denial that he was hoping that he would be fighting Daniel Jacobs.
Well,
you know what I mean? So he's in denial that Daniel Jacobs didn't win.
I should hope that.
That's what I would do. I would rather fight Daniel Jacobs if I was Andrade
but
than Canelo.
Remember, we're talking about prize fighting.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about the potential to earn the most money at the end of the day. So the potential to earn the most money at the end of the day is going to be with Canelo. So it's also to knock off the man on top. The man on top of boxing today. We're talking about just the biggest draw in boxing today is Canelo Alvarez. It's going to be Canelo for a long time.
It's only
unless somebody knock him off.
Unless somebody knocks him off the pedestal.
What Floyd did to De La Hoya.
Yeah. So I just don't see, certainly whether you be in Andrade's position or anybody's position that could possibly face Canelo in the future. It's not just a great fight for you to face Canelo in the future. It's also great for people that are tied to your family. It's great for your life. It's great for your career. It's great for all these things that you've worked and sacrificed all these years to get in this place. And you definitely want that fight. So.
Yeah. And we have the opportunity to finally unify a division. That'd be something exciting to see. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That would be every single belt.
Undisputed.
Yeah.
Undisputed, yeah.
And we've talked about legacy for Canelo many times on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how great that's going to be to actually have a unified, undisputed champion as a big part of his legacy in 165. May he go up again to do another fight at 168, perhaps, but to be able to unify the...
Well, he's unified now.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's not undisputed, excuse me.
Undisputed.
But to be able to further unify and to be undisputed with that last WBO belt would be amazing. Would be the most... it'd be kind of the last chess piece of the...
I think that when you're looking at even someone like Demetrius Andrade, for the most part, that's been at, correct me, he's been at 60 this whole time, right?
I think he was at 54.
He was at 54.
I'm not sure. You don't quote me on that.
So, but we're also saying that someone like Demetrius Andrade, then when you're looking at Canelo, we know what Canelo's done with his career so far, that he's captured titles in different weight divisions. That even with the WBO belt, in my mind,
I think it was vacated, and he won it on a vacated situation. Right. It wasn't quite the same. It wasn't like he knocked off
the top
guy or anything in that scenario.
I don't think anybody wants to fight Demetrius Andrade. That's just to be honest. There's not a lot of upside on it.
Right. Because the draw, as far as what you're going to make, because
there's no money, there's no draw. You're dealing with a very dangerous fighter. Right. He's very physically, his stature is very big. He's definitely got an athletic edge over Danny Jacobs. I'd made a joke about Danny Jacobs being a white fighter from the waist down, which was sort of just saying that he not to just being honest here, that in my opinion that I thought that he lacked movement, that his footwork wasn't as solid. And with a guy like Demetrius Andrade, we're talking about an athlete, talking about someone that has a great foundational has a great foundation. Whenever he learned boxing, not to say that Danny Jacobs didn't, but just completely two different pedigrees of what I see. Now, Demetrius Andrade, Demetrius Andrade hasn't had the accolades I think that
Canelo or Jacobs.
Canelo or Jacobs has had, but it's also to say that a lot of people have kind of known that there's this wolf out there, the big bad wolf is out there, and they haven't necessarily been eager to face him, which on the money side of things, just being very pragmatic and very logical.
He's not a draw.
He's not a draw. I can understand. Hey, we're not going to. Why would I want to?
He was absent for a while and he never had the opportunity. I mean, he's an Olympian. He had the pedigree, but there was, I don't know whether there's promotional gaps or injury gaps. There was a long time where there wasn't a lot of action at Demetrius Andrade, and I kind of felt bad for the guy because
there was promotional issues that were tied to God. Was he with Rock Nation or?
I don't know who he was with, but I know it was promotional.
I thought it was Tabella and them.
Yeah,
it could be.
I know that he had.
But outside of that, I mean, we have social media platforms. I mean, he could promote himself. You know, look at Ryan Garcia, look at Devin Haney. I mean, look at a lot of these young guys. They promote themselves. You don't have to wait.
He was quiet for a while. Is what happened.
Yeah,
you know?
he got to learn how to.
There's a little bit of a learning curve right now that we're seeing too, because to be honest, the younger guys are doing it better than a lot of the guys in their middle ages.
Yeah, he was just before that generation.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
was in the 08 Olympics, was he? Yeah. So it's like,
So, but at the end of the day, listen, we're talking about the prospect of Canelo and Andrade. I think Canelo had sort of said that he wasn't going to face Andrade next.
Yeah, I think Callum Smith.
Callum Smith, yeah. Which
would be a big fight if you do the whole matchroom Golden Boy thing once again.
Overseas.
Actually, I don't know who Callum Smith is with, but I'm sure whatever.
Yeah.
The same thing as like an entire. He's one of the bigger stars on the other side of the pond. So having him fight, and he fought his brother. He fought Liam Smith, and so I think Callum Smith is the better.
Of course.
Yeah, you can't.
But this would be a fight at 168.
Is that what it is?
60.
Yeah, 60.
I thought Calum's.
No, it says 60.
60.
Yeah. Okay. There's a couple of big bad wolves at 68. So.
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother thing. But back to what I said with Canelo is if Canelo decides not to take Demetrius Andrade next, most fans are in fact not in touch with who Demetrius Andrade is. They should probably go out there, look him up on YouTube. See if they can't find him on DAZN, any of his old fights.
Recent fight,
recent fights. I mean, the guy is a real deal. I think that had he had the opportunity to be put in a position that he would be the man, but also to know that everything's in boxing has to make dollars and cents. And at the end of the day, when you got a weekend in Las Vegas at the wasn't at the MGM Grand. Where was the
T-Mobile.
The T-Mobile, and you're selling out Las Vegas and then Cinco de Mayo weekend, and Canelo is who he is.
You know who Andrade was there.
A lot of money to be made.
But Andrade didn't feel like he was making big noise. You know who was doing a better job making big noise was Tevin Farmer.
Yeah.
He was out there getting
barking at
Jojo Diaz.
Yeah.
But you got to give it to him because he is putting in his own work when he's out there on a weekend like that, and it does something for your own promotional game,
Yeah.
Well, I think too with Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer's out there.
I just don't know about Farmer.
Yeah. So I think that what Ivan is speaking on is that when Tevin Farmer, which is a very great fighter. Don't get me wrong, the guys.
Let's take away that great.
The guys that sell the southpaw.
He's a good fighter.
He
hasn't did anything to be great.
When his names are getting mixed up with, and I wouldn't mind seeing the Jojo Diaz fight. I give Tevin Farmer Jojo Diaz fight to me is.
I think
Jojo Diaz
Tevin Farmer beats Jojo Diaz.
Yeah, I think that's a great fight. But when we're talking, I know Tevin Farmer, for example, has rolled up on Gervonta Davis before in the past.
Yeah.
I don't think that he wants that smoke.
He don't want that smoke.
Now,
he want that money probably, but he don't want that smoke.
Tevin Farmer, no matter what, at the end of the day, he's a Philadelphia fighter. He's going to fight whoever's in front of him, if it all makes sense. It's also a good look for his career. There's good money on him, on the prospect of him facing someone like Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis, I think when he was going after Gervonta Davis, which was about a year or two ago, there were still sort of questions on whether or not Gervonta Davis was going to take himself serious, or was he going to be this guy that was in the club with Adrian Broner, throwing money around, getting drunk on the weekends and not taking his body serious. For me, Gervonta hasn't made a complete turnaround, but there's been a turnaround there where it seems that Gervonta Davis is in fact taking himself much more serious
than everybody thought.
And in fact that he is going to be a name in the weight classes that he's around and probably in future weight classes above. Tevin Farmer, Gervonta Davis, I don't think it's a good look. Not for Tevin Farmer. I'll enjoy watching it though.
Yeah,
So-
and it's gonna happen. I'm sure. I mean, they're still on Twitter calling each other out. I mean, or at least more from Davis these days. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that's down in the future. But that goes to say is what I was saying. It's good for his own promotional gain the way he was using that exposure for some
Yeah,
extracurricular. Jojo Diaz is someone who kind of needs it too. You know,
He definitely does.
he needs another big. I mean, you even saw he did the Dennis Rodman here. He is trying to he's trying to repackage himself and re-promote himself and market himself in a certain way. And I think the two of those getting that little shouting match right there. I think that kind of piques a little bit of interest in both of these guys.
Well, JoJo's from LA, you know.
Yeah.
He's
El Monte.
El Monte. We were just in El Monte on Friday. He's definitely a Los Angeles fighter.
Yep.
It's not to say that JoJo has a lot of skills, a lot of craft, but it's also to say that, man, this is a big pool that these guys are dealing with, especially when they get to that level. And you being the guy that's stopping people at Home Depot Center with no names that I can remember. And that's just to be on. I don't even remember the guy's name that he stopped this weekend. Yeah. And you versus the other.
But I
names
bet you
of your
remember some of the
division.
guys that he stopped in the amateurs, right?
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah. So I'm not to say anything about not saying anything.
He made the Olympics for U.S.
Oh, I understand, but even listen. If we're, just to be honest about fighters that have made the Olympics, I mean, Rashid Warren comes to mind. Rashid Warren made the Olympic team
3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
Rashid Warren, I think that he'd gotten a title, but this idea that just because you've made the Olympics 3 times, that somehow it's going to be that you're going to have an incredible amount of success as a pro. That's just it. It isn't happening.
It almost shows that you're more the amateur because if you didn't go pro after your first Olympics, and you wanted to go to the Olympics again, like you're more of an amateur guy. You're stylistically ready to succeed in the amateurs and less so.
I think
in the
Rashid Warren is a good fighter, but at the end of the day, we're not talking about the United States of America here. We're talking about you're competing against everyone in the world. So whether you be from Kazakhstan or you be from the Ukraine or you be from Nicaragua, like Chocolatito, or the guy that beat Chocolatito, whose name I still can't pronounce, from Thailand.
Singravi, but it's also really Wigneck, right?
Yeah. So, but
there's like 2 names are very hard.
then in fact you're facing the best in the entire world. And so when I see a guy like Jojo Diaz, who I give a lot of, obviously I got to give this guy credit. Guy became an Olympian. We know how difficult this is.
Yeah.
I've been in positions where where you try to get your fighters to make the Olympics as amateurs. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to translate over into success as a pro. What I would say when Jojo Diaz lost to Gary Russell, another guy that was an Olympic alternate or had gotten sick in the 2012 Olympics or 2008, I can't remember. But another guy that everyone was very high on. But in fact, when Gary Russell faced the Ukrainian, Vasily Lomachenko, was for the most part easily sort of dealt with by Lomachenko. Now, if we're looking at the fight with Jojo Diaz versus Gary Russell for me, he didn't easily deal with Jojo Diaz, but he definitely boxed the brake lights off with Jojo Diaz. So when we're talking about the prospect of Jojo Diaz facing another guy that I know is high in craft, high in acumen, which would be Tevin Farmer, because Tevin Farmer's not coming out there for that match to have his nuts out. He's coming out there to box. He's coming out there to move. He's coming out there to stick. He's coming out there to make you miss.
So do you like that fight then?
I like that fight for Jojo Diaz, but
Yeah.
I don't. But for me to say, and I want to sign off on everybody.
We took a
from
long
LA.
we took a long route to say that I think we want to see that fight.
Oh yeah,
I like that fight
we,
too.
We all like.
And I like seeing those two guys making it work,
yeah.
doing some of the. I like when I see young fighters doing some of the promotional work themselves. You know what I mean? Taking it in their own hands to do it, and we saw that from both of them. And I think they both need that big name fight next, and putting in the work makes me glad to see.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think we all want to support fighters from Southern California,
Of course.
particularly Los Angeles.
Of course.
But in all fairness, and I'm just talking logic here, and how it is that I look at boxing. is that the one difference between a lot of Latino prospects, Latino contenders, and someone like Canelo. Canelo, in fact, is fighting slick Cubans like it's Laurie Lara. Although I can make an incredible argument for a fight that I was at that Canelo actually lost that fight. Canelo is fighting Floyd Mayweather, practically one of the best fighter of his generation, if not generations,
if not of all time.
If not of all time, right? He's fighting Danny Jacobs. You know, he's. What I'm saying here is that Canelo is also facing a lot of black fighters.
Well, you said Danny Jacobs is white below the waist.
Yeah.
but pick a side, dude.
Yeah, but then I'm saying and I'm not having a bias here towards the black fighters. I'm just being honest. That when we looking even at Juan Manuel Marquez's record,
basically
against he lost against Freddie
Canelo's a slicker.
He lost against Floyd Mayweather, and these are things. If Marquez
Canelo's not your typical Mexican fighter. He's a slicker.
He's a slicker.
He can fight American black.
When you hear that a fighter can do it all, I think that what do we mean by that? Well, a fighter can do it all.
He can box. I mean, he can fight inside, outside. He can do it. Canelo's a great fighter. That's a great fighter.
Canelo can beat.
I'm stamping it right
everything.
now. He's the greatest Mexican fighter.
Yeah, I think that. I think that.
And at the end of his career,
I just saw Julio Cesar Chavez said.
Hating on him.
He said no. Well, he said he is one of the top 10 Mexican fighters of all time, but he's still not one of the top 3.
He's number 1 to me in my book.
Well, I mean, if you're seeing a guy that's about to dethrone you as the Mexican king,
this guy's
he's not gonna admit it.
He's a bad boy.
He's a bad boy.
Yeah,
I was making a joke the other day in the gym that who does Canelo have to beat? Jesus Christ. I mean, like. At this point, he's faced 17 other world champions.
I suppose he would have to beat Floyd Mayweather.
But
then people would finally agree that he's the best.
I mean,
the
guys fought other Hall of Famers, other future Hall of Famers that would certainly go first round. Even we're talking about Danny Jacobs' opposition. Danny Jacobs, in fact, only faced another Hall of Famer, which was Triple G. You talk about Canelo. Not to reiterate stuff I've said before. Talking about Shane Mosley. You're talking about Miguel Cotto. You're talking about Floyd Mayweather. You're talking about Triple G. You're talking about
Laura.
Yeah, it's Laurie Lara, who might not go first round when it's his time, but Austin Trout, I think, will probably go first round when it's time. He got multiple.
Think he go first round?
I don't know, but he's going to go to the. I think he'll go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's going to go.
So
first round,
the thing about it is that he's facing other future Hall of Famers and beating them. And so that when we're talking about Danny Jacobs and Danny Jacobs' legacy, and I hope that these fighters are looking at it like this, and I believe that Canelo does look at it like this. Otherwise, he doesn't shoot up to 168 to grab that belt like he did. That he is on, in fact, his legacy shoot.
Right.
So, but something about Canelo is kind of reiterate, which I think will make a lot of people feel sensitive. But that Canelo, in fact, is facing the best fighters of his generation.
He is.
Which is everything.
Yeah.
Which is guys from Kazakhstan, guys from Cuba, and American slick.
So then,
black
do you think for his legacy, he needs to go up to 68 once again and take on one of the bad boys at 168?
It's hard,
not just Rocky Spalding.
Hard for me to give him that look. The reason why is that there is when you get above a certain size, all of a sudden height becomes much more of a variable that's at play.
Yeah.
And is that factor. I don't know. I think Canelo's maybe 5'8.5" to 5'9", if I'm being really giving. Mm-hmm. If you have the potential matchup with a guy like David Benavidez, for example, who we stood next to David. I think he's about 6'3", 6'3". Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, those are two totally different body types right there. You got a short, stocky, and a
Caleb
long.
Plant's another guy that comes to mind. You talk about Caleb, who I think has been pretty vocal about the prospect of facing Canelo.
He wants to face Canelo?
Yeah, he had said that he was definitely.
Well, everyone wants to make that money.
68, right?
Yeah, at 68.
He needs to face Benavidez.
Yeah, he needs to face Benavidez.
Stop picking on the little guy.
Yeah, stop.
Canelo comes from 47.
Who wouldn't want that money?
Yeah, he wants that money.
They want that money right there.
Yeah, they want the money.
The money would change.
Caleb just bought a house. He wants to pay it off right now.
Yeah, I understand that. That's like Triple G was picking on Floyd.
Yeah, Triple G was talking about Floyd. Saying he would fight anybody between.
But that was also
160.
Yeah.
But we're talking about whether or not Canelo can go up and be a name at 168. I'm obviously an advocate for Canelo. I appreciate the man's skill. I think there's a limitation. I don't see it. And that's just
68?
yeah. I don't,
You think he'll ever
That's
go
a
again?
challenge.
That's a
You think he'll
challenge.
ever go again just for any one particular fight?
I think sure if it's the right look, just like Fielding was the right look.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're talking about. It's just, it's going to be very difficult. I don't. Now, if there's a big ring, even like a guy with like David Benavidez, I think that the problem is do I think that Canelo could box and look great against David Benavidez? Absolutely. Do I think that David Benavidez doesn't say,
move.
hey, listen, you know what? Whatever you throw I could deal with, I'm going to walk you down and I'm going to dog you out. Do I think Canelo could handle that? Just if I got to be honest, I wouldn't want to put Canelo in that position if I was his trainer. I wouldn't want to put him underneath that sort of fire. Now, if you're dealing with a fighter where he comes to the trainer and he says, look, I know I got this, it's also to know that you have a team and to sort of mirror some of the things that we saw happen with Mikey Garcia versus Earl Spence, that there are limitations to size. That ultimately you just don't know whether, I don't know if I'd give him that advice. So
there's one name that you guys haven't talked about yet that Oscar said is potential. That's Kovalev.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he named 4 fighters for September.
It's a huge jump though in size.
Kovalev?
Smith, and then
For Canelo?
Yeah, for Canelo.
Oh, no.
yeah.
No.
175 isn't Colo just won once again, or did he win
Oscar, what Oscar
Cruiser?
need to do, I think Oscar just trying to get,
And Demetrius, that was the 4th.
I think Oscar just trying to get some. he's
It
trying to
should
get
be
people
Demetrius
juices
because I want
going.
to see the undisputed happen, but will it be because of money wise? Probably not.
I don't, sometimes, listen, what Oscar says on the night of the fight, and he's got a little booze in him. Yeah, and
A little coke in him.
Yeah,
No
you know.
cigars?
And that's
Keep it
not
real.
or whatever it is that's going on. Versus probably what was a good look, and yeah.
Kovalev.
I'm also kind of say this too with this podcast is that I think just to get it out there that a lot of I see it, I think that everybody that's watching boxing is unknowingly being engineered by commentators. I've seen it during the fight, during the DAZN show, and so the show.
Yeah, there's some complaints about.
They're coming in there. They're coming in there with a
sure.
bias. They're coming in there broadcasting. They're coming in there saying that it's going to be this way or that way. But like, you're not going to get that from this podcast. If Oscar De La Hoya, who I respect as a fighter, I think was an incredible fighter, absolutely one of the baddest of
Well,
his
he's
time
doing
to
his
do
job
it.
as a promoter.
But
so
foolish like
influence you.
Kovalev's name and talk about it with Canelo. Come on, we're gonna.
I mean, he's trying to promote, but
Yeah.
that's foolish. I
come-
mean, come on.
We'll put it.
He might as well say Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, like
Kovalev is not. Come on, this guy too big, too strong.
Yeah, if Benavidez is too big, Colo is definitely too.
Yeah,
so.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Kovalev.
So I want to touch a little bit on the statement you made earlier about Jacobs being a white fighter from the waist down.
well, Jacobs being a white fighter from the waist down.
What do you mean?
Explain what
by
that means. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, shouldn't be a secret to anybody that's involved in boxing that in fact that I can name white fighters that can move throughout history. So if your name is Willie Pep, guess what? Willie Pep can move. Willie Pep was in fact
Josh Kelly can move.
Yeah, Josh Kelly, who's a Brit, Billy Joe Sanders, Tyson Fury, Vasily Lomachenko, Caleb Plant. But to kind of jump, Cooney too. Cooney had some movement with him. To jump into this conversation, that in fact that when I say that if Russians were to show up here at Jackrabbits, and they were with some Russian trainer, we're gonna say, hey, these Russians are here. You know that they're on go.
You didn't say white boys. You said Russians.
Russians,
You make sure you're ready. The Russians.
I said exactly. Thank you. I didn't say white boys.
Yeah.
I said you know that they're on go. You know that they're gunning. And by the way, their defense is getting better because they're looking up to guys like Lomachenko, and they're looking up to guys like Usyk that also keep it very, very, very honest with his defense. He's not getting caught with no dumb shit. So when I say that a white fighter can't move, that I think that's a pretty fair statement.
Yeah.
A guy like Caleb
But
Plant.
I bring it up just once again because it's the kind of thing that we're going to do on this podcast as we continue to go forward. We're going to there are realities in this sport, and we're not afraid to mention them because it's just a lot of people will be afraid, but we're not.
Be real, just to be honest about someone like Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant, in fact, moves like a black fighter. I mean, he moves like a black fighter.
Yeah, I mean,
Caleb Plant. From I don't know where. I know that he's from Tennessee. I know that he grew up in an area.
I don't think we grew up the same way.
He grew up in an area with a lot of poverty. I'm certain that he grew up with black folks. I'm certain that he was moving as a young man. I'm certain that he was dancing as a young man.
He didn't grow up in a Mexican gym.
He had a lot of. That's the culture that Caleb Plant grew up in. You see that in the way that he moves. Caleb Plant, in fact, is a. We want to talk about another slick fighter. His name should absolutely be mentioned with Canelo too.
Yeah,
talking about a guy that is going to make you miss. He's slick. He's very defensively responsible. He's got incredible balance. Got incredible reflexes. But that's not to say that all white fighters can't move. No, Caleb Plant's a perfect example that white fighters can move. But that's to say that there's a sort of
no. But your joke makes sense. I was just
even
picking at it
with the Brits,
for the sake of conversation.
With someone like with you're looking at we know that Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Sanders, I think both are gypsies.
Yeah,
and we
don't know what it's like, but that culturally might over there that might be a thing. That might be like a stereotype. Gypsies can move. I don't know.
No, gypsies.
I know they're known for bare knuckle boxing.
Exactly.
They can move.
Gypsies can move.
I don't know if that's a thing, but
so when I say that Danny Jacobs doesn't have great movement, which he's got very stiff legs. He sort of plods around like he's very heavy-footed. It's in that he fights, white from the waist down. I'm just saying that he doesn't have a lot of movement, and maybe that's not politically correct. But hey, man,
this is boxing though.
I can only go by, and to mention mixed martial arts, just to be fair. I know that T.J. Dillashaw is out there, and as far as himself as a fighter in his realm in the octagon, I know that he's got some great movement with him. I know that George St. Pierre had great movement with him. I know that there's other fighters out there that in the mixed martial arts world that had great movement with them. But listen, it's when people, if you have white fighters out there, and you certainly say, hey, I want to develop my white fighter, which I've had in the past. Not to, it sounds, but say, hey, listen, you're gonna have to develop footwork. You're gonna have to work on your timing.
When do we start, man?
Yeah, when do we start? Yeah. We need to get with you. So, that's what I mean by that. I know a lot of people are gonna take that and run with it and feel kind of adverse and have a negative sort of view of it. But this is boxing. The ring, this thing that we're sitting in right here, tells no lies. At the end of the day, no one that is training their fighter wants to see their fighter get hit by any dumb shit. No one wants to see their fighter get caught by any dumb shit. Nobody. They certainly don't want to see you get knocked out because they're looking at two people at that time. They're looking at the fighter, then the eyes is going over to the corner, and they're trying to figure out, hey, what did you do in the corner as a trainer to get this guy clipped?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, man, it's interesting topic for sure, but I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I was trying to dig deeper because I need to get that out so that people fully understand. Because I know there's gonna be listeners that don't quite understand what that means, or think that that's just like a cliche, like taking the cliche of that the movie title, white man can't jump.
Yeah, white man
but
can't jump.
It's actually further than it. And then you're going into stylistically these sports are cultural. Every culture has a different style.
I mean, Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Sanders. And in fact, if I'm putting together 20 of the best movers in boxing right now, that their names are getting put up in that list. Where they fall on the list, I don't know. But both those guys can certainly move. Lomachenko's getting thrown in that list too.
Yeah, he can move.
He can move. So Caleb Plant is being in there. So it's not necessarily.
I keep on forgetting about my boy Josh Kelly.
Yeah, Josh Kelly. I'm sorry. It's hard. Josh Kelly's another one. Josh can move, right? So, but we're talking about 20 people right now that we and so there's a good majority there. But we're also talking, like I said, about generations of fighters. There's a big thing in boxing that, if you're just being honest about, your common day boxing fan, that drives me a little crazy, which is there seems to be much more of an appreciation for a shot that lands than a shot that doesn't land. And in fact, one of them is only going to be better for your fighter's health and longevity and his ability to earn a living in his career. And that's a shot that doesn't land. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, why do you think MMA has experienced its popularity among the people that find it more entertaining? Hit a segment of the population that's looking for that instant gratification.
You want my real
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, so listen, with mixed martial arts in the beginning of what I saw with mixed martial arts was
Did you download those clips from LimeWire? I remember downloading
the UFC fights.
UFC 1, UFC 2, like getting the full video that was available at the time from the actual Ultimate Fighting Championship, before it was MMA even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
gnarly.
When MMA first came about, you had this, this. It was crazy, right? You got this guy that's a master in karate versus a master in jiu-jitsu versus someone like Tank Abbott, who was basically a barroom fighter that trained. So I mean that was the inception of the UFC. With the UFC, when I saw it get really, really popular, mixed martial arts got really, really popular is when probably, I guess it would have been about a decade or 12 years later. And one of the reasons that I speculate that it got as big as it did was that, in fact, it was hard for America to get behind black fighters. So, and that's just being real. You got
talking about mixed martial arts?
Yeah, mixed martial arts. So the majority of American combat fans, the majority of American boxing fans that were paying pay-per-view to see someone at that time who is definitely the face of boxing, which is Floyd Mayweather. And then to know that there was public rivalries between someone like Dana White and Floyd Mayweather, where words were being exchanged.
That was later on, though, dude.
Oh, well,
when you're talking about like 12 years after, that was more the De La Hoya era than the Floyd Mayweather era.
We're talking about when UFC lands on Fox, when UFC becomes a household name that it is today.
Yeah,
it's only been
you
there
are
since-
right. You are right that there were more white athletes in MMA to look to. There was a Uriah Fabers. There was there was a ton of them.
There's an incredible.
And I remember a friend of mine saying, just wait until like these gyms ending up in black neighborhoods and black fighters end up taking over MMA. You're not going to see any more of these white boys winning these belts anymore.
Yeah,
but it is true that I'm sure those Huntington Beach fighters, whatever, got exposure to the jiu-jitsu classes before. But now you see more African Americans in UFC.
Ivan sponsors.
Before that, you hadn't.
Ivan sponsors an incredible amount of kids from the neighborhood that don't have the means or resources to be able to afford this gym, and they come in here. He looks after them for them to get trained. He's not just did that during. He doesn't just do that during the year. He's also done. Has a program that he's ran with the city that does that as well. For you to get good at jiu-jitsu, there's going to take quite a bit of investment, especially in the United States of America, especially here in America. Mm-hmm. That requires a jiu-jitsu school, and that is going to be anywhere between, you're talking about 7 or 8 years to get at a level that we see some of these guys competing at in the UFC, and they're paying somewhere between hundreds of dollars a month, and at the very bare minimum, $150 to $200 a month to be part of one of these jiu-jitsu schools. They both, boxing and mixed martial arts, as far as it is in the United States of America, comes from a different socioeconomic strata.
Of course.
That's why you see it popular in places like Orange County or popular in places like San Diego, where people have the means in order to pay for the kids to get there.
But also that's changing now too.
Yeah.
It's starting to change.
You're seeing that. You're seeing them everywhere. There's a gym. I was just at a kickboxing show, and there's a gym in Inglewood that was showing up with a bunch, mostly Latino fighters, but it was like there's gym in like Hawthorne. There's gyms now everywhere.
Sweet Science, but not everywhere. You still you don't catch them. You're not going to see a mixed martial arts gym, a jiu-jitsu gym in Compton on the east side of Long Beach.
Yeah.
You'll find them in Lakewood.
Yeah.
Maybe Belmont
So
Shores.
Bellflower, Downey.
On the outskirts.
I don't
that's
even
still
know
hard
if you
for
find them in
somebody.
Paramount, but
Yeah,
maybe.
that's still hard from somebody from Central Long Beach, East Side Long Beach to get there.
Yeah, but it's only to say when you're looking at UFC in the beginning, and it's sort of kind of what I'm trying to get at and hint at, and it's an awkward conversation, is that because the majority of Americans at that time, in my opinion, were paying for the possibility of seeing Floyd Mayweather get knocked out, because that's what they really wanted to see.
That was post De La Hoya fight, right?
Yeah, post De La Hoya fight, that they wanted to see Floyd Mayweather get beat, that they wanted to see Floyd Mayweather get beat because he had a lot of movement.
Because he was reeling you into that recipe that he wanted to sell.
In their opinion, I would think that they were, a lot of people say that they're coming to the fight because he's not coming to fight. He's, you hear all these things that people said about Floyd. And now you have UFC at the same time that's growing and has these incredible numbers. And that those numbers were all based upon perceptions of two guys that could have been from, a guy could have been from Wyoming and another guy could have been from, Utah, that were in fact going to get in front of each other and beat the shit out of each other. And everyone was going to think that that is their interpretation of two guys fighting. Then in fact, that what you saw was two dudes that were under an agreement and that weren't going about it in a sort of consciousness, and that it was in fact a lower level of combat. Now what we've seen right now in UFC is a bunch of guys that have decided that they're going to look after boxing. This is why TJ Dillashaw wants to spar with Lomachenko. This is why they want to be.
Didn't you call it Tank Davis?
Oh, Lomachenko?
No, Dillashaw.
I seen something like that?
I hope he didn't call out Tank Davis.
No, he don't.
No, he doesn't. Even if he doesn't want that smoke, he doesn't understand that smoke.
He doesn't understand that smoke
because that's just way too much for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it's a much larger pay. I don't know what kind of money he's made in the UFC, but maybe it's a much better pay.
It's definitely.
But anyway, that was a while ago, and that was just Twitter beef. That's not really. I don't think that's substantial.
Listen, at the end of the day, if you're a UFC fighter and you're a prize fighter, which you are, right? And at the end of the day, you got a guy like Floyd Mayweather that's worth $1 billion. You got a guy, Manny. Who knows what Manny's worth? 300 million, maybe 200 million. We got Canelo's going to be worth 350 million plus right now. I
hope these guys are all worth more than that.
If you're a UFC fighter and you're a mixed martial arts fighter and you're saying, hey, this is the toughest man on the planet, this is the baddest man on the planet. We know that Conor McGregor, in fact, made his biggest payday fighting Floyd Mayweather. Mm-hmm. We also, to be honest, on record, Conor McGregor only gets that fight against Floyd Mayweather because he's a white Irish fighter with no experience. That there was an incredible amount of other people that we've never heard of that, in fact, deserved
I know 20 guys in LA County that would have smacked
that deserved to make that sort of money against Floyd Mayweather,
fight,
but that America was silly enough to think that this fighter that had no experience in a boxing ring,
some amateur,
that he would have had a chance, and that he only got that chance because of the color of his skin. And because of this thing.
Well, not just the color of his skin. There's other better white fighters, but his ability to sell to all of America.
No, but it was this perception that people had been saying for years, which is, if they had that these guys and UFC mixed martial arts are really, really tough, and if we brought a tough fighter like that he was going to be able to walk down a guy like Mayweather and do what he wanted to do. When in fact, in my opinion, that Floyd Mayweather carried the damn fight.
Absolutely. Yeah. But Trevor, it doesn't matter because all of those people that were bamboozled and paying $100 for that fight from the McGregor side, I was still seeing all of them say on Twitter and elsewhere and in person, they're like, oh damn man, he still made it to I think it was in the 9th round. He still made it to 9 rounds. I'm just like, dude, shut up, you don't understand. But so in effect, they're not convinced. They're not. You can't change their mind.
Listen,
they're fans.
They're fans.
Fanatics.
That's what.
That's what a fan is.
That's a fanatic, right? Yeah. So, but I'm just saying we're looking at the two sports.
So you're not going to change your mind. So you might as well make money from them, I guess.
But to reiterate what I'm talking about, if you're a prize fighter and you're in the UFC and you're fighting for your life and perhaps your children's lives or generations to come, that if you're that bad of a fighter, then you would go to where the money is. You're not going to see any great NFL prospect go or any football prospect go to the CFL.
And why does Conor McGregor say he's retired? Well, he's retired until the payday is good enough because of course he would. If you've made that Floyd money, why would you ever get in another fight without a similar payday?
It doesn't
make any sense. You're devaluing yourself if you're thinking you're going to go
make $100 million,
and fight number 2 in the UFC and make $2 million, a tenth of that. Yeah.
I mean, I think the biggest irony that I could speak on, in fact, was that we're talking about the character of Conor McGregor, is that Conor McGregor in fact mirrored everything that Floyd Mayweather did.
Everything.
Yeah. He followed the blueprint.
He came out with a fur coat on like Floyd did. He talked just as much shit and bravado like Floyd did. He was flashy like Floyd did. He wasn't humble. He, in fact, made a living making people miss shots and be the slickest fighter in UFC, but was celebrated. No one was saying...
One thing you got to give him credit was his ability to sell himself even after he got...
but I'm talking about themes that are being...
Sorry, I don't know UFC as well, but...
themes that are being said with Floyd, which is Floyd doesn't come to fight. Floyd isn't a real fighter. He doesn't sit down. He doesn't, he dances. He's more of a dancer, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm saying, he's flashy. He talks too much shit. He's this, he's that. All those things that America hated Floyd Mayweather for, they loved Conor McGregor for.
Yeah.
It's because, so what's the difference?
One was black, one was white.
One was black and one was white. And so if we're going to have these conversations, which nobody wants to have, which I'm okay with.
We're doing it on the Boxing podcast, though.
But which you're not going to get from the biased, reporting of whatever it is, whatever show that we're watching. No, the fact is that one was celebrated because one was white. One was okay to even when I remember Conor McGregor and made a sexual reference during one of the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if Floyd Mayweather would have made a sexual reference at one of the weigh-ins. They would have hated him more. They would have lost their goddamn minds. And that's just me speaking on it and being honest.
I don't remember. What did he say?
One thing.
Go for it.
What flipped the switch for me with Floyd is when he, I guess technically it's not a cheap shot, but when he cheap shot at whoever it was.
Victor
Ortiz.
Yeah.
That for me.
But people...
Let me tell you, that's not a cheap shot.
But I want to finish. That for you was what?
Well, to me, that's when I was like, okay, I want to see this guy lose.
Yeah.
Like, up until then, the shit talk, all that stuff, I was on board with, just like I am with Conor.
So you just forgot what Victor Ortiz did.
He didn't see it though, because he's not from boxing.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, yeah.
So
that wasn't a cheap shot.
So
I applaud him.
Yeah, for you. Yeah.
For me, like, because they split him up, and then
he said fight.
yeah. And
Victor want to still be friends.
But it was so just to revisit that.
Yeah.
For the common day boxing fan or common day fighter out there or person out there that remembers this fight, the man headbutted him twice.
And it wasn't a headbutt that you snuck in there. It was one of these,
It was a
drove
real
his
battering
head.
ram
Yeah.
into the guy's face. I don't give a shit who you are. If
You're gonna get fucked up
I'm
for
in the
that.
corner and I'm your trainer, and I see this go down with my fighter, if my fighter touches gloves and hits him with the hook, at that point I don't give a shit. He did. Victor Ortiz, and by the way, Victor Ortiz is going to get stopped anyways. He was already getting timed the hell out of. It already was going to go that way.
I mean, why do you think he's resulting in a headbutt?
Victor Ortiz, that's why he's headbutting.
He's frustrated.
So,
yeah.
but if for me to judge Floyd, listen, I'm going to be honest. I wish Floyd wouldn't have gone about it that way because I believe he would have had an Arturo Gatti-like performance where the whole damn fight would have been a highlight reel, and I could have looked back at it, and it would have been an enjoyable experience for me. So Floyd Mayweather, you robbed me of that enjoyable experience.
I think on YouTube and stuff, it might have been spun into look how bad this Floyd guy is for doing that kind of thing. But Victor Ortiz, honestly, look, if you already said sorry when the ref allowed you to, and then you wanted to say sorry the second time after the ref had said fight, you're kind of looking for a bitch way out of it because you're kind of being like, oh, I'm sorry to the bad thing, don't hurt me, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and also, it's funny that it happened. It's funny that it was Victor Ortiz there because Victor Ortiz already lost plenty of fans for when he. This was after he quit against Maidana, right?
After he quit.
So it's not even like Floyd did this to a guy that we all love in the boxing world. Everyone was already hating on Victor. Already was over, you know.
I mean, listen.
So it's kind of funny to me that. I'm
not judging Victor for in his career. I'm
just saying the fans kind of hated him.
I'm not saying that. I know the Mexican fans definitely hated him for quitting. I personally can tell you I won't be having any young men that are southpaws around here look at any tape of Victor.
Yeah,
and that's just to say that they won't be studying the way that he went about it, his consciousness. I guess if and we've seen a lot of guys like Victor, which are basically, bulls that are southpaws, that in fact there hasn't been a lot of success with that blueprint as far as fighting styles are concerned. If you thought that Victor Ortiz was going to beat Floyd Mayweather, and if you still thought that he could have beat Floyd Mayweather had that shot landed, come on by the gym. I'm going to sell you some diamonds that I bought at Claire's in the mall. This is just, and so when you're looking at HBO boxing, we're wondering why HBO boxing is not on television anymore. You had the biggest fighter of the generation, if not all time.
If not all time.
Of all time from this measurement, there should be no debate over the measurement of money. The biggest money maker of all time is Floyd Mayweather.
Yep.
We don't know if anybody is going to get close to him. We should hope that people get close to him or surpass his record.
Canelo still has a long way to go, to be honest.
I don't think Canelo's going to get it done.
Yeah,
I'm just being honest. You want to know why? Canelo's not his own man. Canelo's still running through. He's still got the Oscar in the peripheral. He's still got Eddie Hearn in the peripheral. He's not his own man. Had Floyd Mayweather was his own man, it's a different sort of financial setup that Floyd had going on. Floyd was making money off the popcorn being sold, the beer being sold, the t-shirts being sold, the soda, the t-shirts, the rooms being rented at the MGM Grand.
I didn't know all that. I didn't know he had a hand in the rooms.
Oh yes, everything. Floyd was out there commodifying everything, out there monetizing everything.
That's probably why he moved to Vegas so early in his career, huh? If we wanted to take a stand in
talking about HBO bias towards black fighters, and ultimately, in my opinion, what led to the death of HBO. Which
they put more interest in a guy like Triple G than
Gennady Golovkin and Kovalev and anyone and all these Russian fighters.
Well, you can't really market a Russian anyway.
No,
I mean,
you couldn't.
No.
You couldn't market a Russian.
Not Kovalev. I mean, he's exciting to watch. You know, him crush people, but.
I mean, even with some of the when they were calling the fights, some of the things I was hearing, you know, there's all these fixes in boxing that you'd like to see. You know, I can't remember the fight. Whoever Roach fought, the Puerto Rican that Roach fought on the DAZN show.
Oh, Lamont Roach.
Yeah, Lamont Roach, who did
Yeah.
the Puerto Rican guy.
I didn't forget.
Oh, but anyways, I can't remember his name. But it's sad that I don't remember his name because Puerto Rican won the fight, although he didn't win the fight on the cards.
Yeah.
It's also sad that you had a very biased ref, Mora, in the fight.
Took a punch for nothing.
Took a point for
for
nothing. You have a ref that historically has been biased towards
Which fight are you talking about?
this fight that was on DAZN on the undercard for
Lamont Roach.
Oh, Lamont Roach. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, I got confused. I thought, for instance, I thought for a moment you were going back to Lamont Peterson.
No. But we're talking about a bias that exists.
Yeah.
A lot of things that need to get cleaned up in boxing. The commentators, people aren't talking. You know, they're out there for the boxing fans out there. They're out there selling a product, which is a fighter that is signed up for their deal, and they're going to spin the fight a certain way. Had I called the Canelo fight, I'm going to tell you, I would have told you the Canelo lost the fight against Lara. That's my opinion. That's how I saw the fight. If I'm in that position to call that fight.
Think about how important it was for him to win, though, there, because look at all the money that's been generated for the entire industry since that fight.
I think he still would have generated.
Canelo
money.
would have made that money.
I think he was still going to be a big draw.
But he was more of a superstar having that win, right? That early on?
I agree, but you look at Canelo as a superstar. You got.
I'm just feeding into the skepticism that it actually did happen.
He's a handsome guy, right?
Yeah.
You got the guy's got incredible body for boxing. Literally, you're like, man, this guy's just incredibly fit, right? He's marketable.
That was good.
He's young. He's different. I mean, he's a red-haired.
He's marketable. He's gonna make.
It goes back. Honestly, dude, it goes back to the whole white thing. Like, even in his own culture.
Yeah. He's a
think
white
about
boy.
Go to Mexico. I spent a lot of time in Mexico.
Yeah.
And you turn on the TV, and the stars on the shows will be the lighter skin.
Right.
So even in his own culture, he's looked at as like the golden boy. Well, what did Golden Boy do? He was the golden boy and the whole. So.
And
it comes back to that same thing.
Canelo's gonna be a star, but unlike
you're gonna be a star.
I'm sorry, not gonna be a star. He was gonna be a star no matter what.
Oh, it was gonna be one no matter what.
I think we got to get away from. I think a lot of people got to get away from that. If you lose the luster.
Yeah.
And that's
why
that's
what
what messed up
doing what
boxing.
he's doing right now. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I support the guy, man. The guy has a couple losses, and he still has a belt right now. You know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when everyone supports Trevor Farmer, everyone. I don't think that is.
No,
I want to know a little bit more.
support him.
You just don't think he is as much as I.
I want to see more. I want to see
Yeah,
more from him.
more of a-
I just want to see him fight better opponents. I mean, he's beating the guys that he put in front of him. He's doing what he's supposed to do.
So who do you think is a good look from next? The next step up, a good build.
Oh, the JoJo Diaz is a great look.
JoJo Diaz.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Then turn around and fight Gary Russell.
Yeah.
Then he beat
Listen,
Gary Russell.
JoJo Diaz
I'm
is
on
good.
him.
Right.
I'm on him.
Yeah, okay.
I'm on him. He beat Gary Russell.
He beat Gary Russell, absolutely.
Yeah.
Same thing with JoJo Diaz. But give me something to get behind you, not Ivan Redcock.
Yeah. I like Tevin. I do like him, but I'm wanting to see more. I want to see more.
I think that JoJo Diaz fight would be good for both of them, and also Matchroom and Golden Boy being both working together so well right now.
Yeah.
On
Who's
the
the
zone.
Asian fighter that he fought?
When he went to,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's a close fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that they robbed him. He lost to.
Yeah.
And then he ended up on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he won that fight easy.
Yeah,
that
me
was,
too. So maybe I can't. It's so many hard.
What do we guys like? What are we looking forward to as far as anything going on in the gym? Now, I mean, we're here at Jackrabbits. I want to see if you have anything going on as far as what listeners and viewers should be tuning into for what's going on in the gym.
we just doing what we do.
What's our
every
next?
day.
What's our next?
We got San Diego next. Junior Olympic regionals. We got Ashton fighting and Emmanuel Aguilar fighting in Junior Olympic regionals.
Is there going to be a stream for that?
It's gonna be a stream on Jackrabbits IG.
Okay.
I always stream the regionals and the nationals.
What's the handle for everyone if
It
you want?
is LB Jackrabbit Boxing at it's LB Jackrabbit Boxing. Yeah, I was about to say the email. It's LB Jackrabbit Boxing on IG.
Perfect. Do you have anything else, Trevor? You want? Well, we thank you guys for tuning in, for listening, and watching this episode. And if you guys enjoyed it, please share it with someone else. Please write us a review, give us 5-star rating, pass it on to someone else who might enjoy it, and keep tuning in. Thank you so much.